Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vanguard, watching the last alien ship disappear into the black void of space. The massive Galaxy Council transport had just left Earth's solar system, carrying with it the final diplomatic mission from Nexus Prime. 3 months ago, everything had been different. 3 months ago, humanity still believed they were partners in the great galactic community. The council chambers on Nexus Prime had been packed that day when Commander Lisa Harper delivered Earth's final message. The tall, elegant aliens from dozens of worlds had listened in stunned silence as she spoke. The Veltharian Emperor sat on his crystal throne, his blue skin growing darker with anger. The insect-like Zephyrians clicked their mandibles nervously. Even the peaceful Crystal Dominion representatives had shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Galaxy Council hereby demands that humanity surrender all rights to faster-than-light technology, Chairman Thylos Vel had announced that morning. His voice echoed through the vast chamber like thunder. Humans have proven too unpredictable, too dangerous to remain autonomous. You will submit to permanent oversight or face complete isolation from galactic civilization. Lisa had stood up, slowly, her human form tiny among the towering alien delegates. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of creatures from 100 different worlds. Some had been friends. Some had worked alongside human scientists for decades. Now they all stared at her with the same cold calculation. "We decline your generous offer to become your slaves," Lisa had said, her voice steady and clear. "Earth hereby withdraws from all galactic treaties and trade agreements. We return all council property and technology. Good luck without us." The silence that followed had been deafening. Then Chairman Vel had laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You will come crawling back within a year, little humans. Your pathetic world cannot survive without us." Now, watching the last council ship vanish beyond the edge of their solar system, Jake wondered if the chairman might be right. Earth had just cut itself off from a galactic civilization that spanned thousands of worlds. No more alien technology, no more galactic trade routes, no more protection from the Council's massive military fleets. Admiral Peter Collins appeared, beside Jake on the bridge. The older man's face was grim but determined. "All Council vessels have cleared our space," he reported. "We're officially alone now." Jake nodded. Around them, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. These were good people, the best humanity had to offer. But they were about to face the unknown. For 60 years, ever since first contact, humanity had been the junior partner in galactic affairs. They had traded their innovations for alien technology, learned alien sciences, followed alien rules. "Status report on the orbital shipyards?" Jake asked. "Construction has begun on the new fleet designs," Collins replied. "Dr. Amy Foster's team has been working around the clock to reverse engineer everything we can. We're not starting from nothing, but it's going to be close." Through the main view screen, Jake could see Earth's orbital facilities buzzing with activity. Massive construction platforms that had once built ships using alien blueprints now worked to create something entirely human. The designs looked different from Council vessels. Sleeker, more aggressive, built for speed and flexibility rather than raw power. Down on Earth's surface, every major city was alive with activity. Factories that had produced goods for galactic trade now retooled for Earth's needs. Scientists who had spent their careers working with alien partners now pushed the boundaries of human knowledge alone. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Dr. Amy Foster's voice crackled over the communication system. "Jake, we've got a breakthrough in the propulsion labs. The quantum field generators are working better than expected. We might actually have working jump drives within 6 months." Jake felt a surge of hope. The jump drives were crucial. Without faster-than-light travel, humanity would be trapped in their own solar system. The Council had expected Earth to be helpless without their technology. But human engineers had been studying alien systems for decades. They understood the principles, even if they had never built the hardware themselves. "What about weapons? Systems?" Collins asked over the comm. "That's where it gets interesting," Amy replied. "We've been so focused on learning alien technology that we never really pushed our own weapons development. But now that we're starting fresh, We're coming up with some very interesting ideas. The particle beam arrays are showing promise, and Ryan Murphy thinks he's cracked the shield problem. Collins smiled grimly. Good. If the council decides to change their minds about leaving us alone, we'll need every advantage we can get. The bridge door opened and Commander Lisa Harper entered. She looked tired but satisfied. Lisa had spent the last 3 months organizing Earth's withdrawal from every galactic institution, returning borrowed technology, and shutting down embassy operations on dozens of alien worlds. It had been a massive undertaking. The last of our people are home, she reported. All human diplomatic staff, traders, and scientists have been evacuated from Council space. We're officially cut off. Jake studied the woman who had delivered humanity's Declaration of Independence to the galaxy. Lisa was small and quiet, not the kind of person you would expect to defy an empire that controlled half the galaxy. But she had done it with style and grace that had left even the alien diplomats impressed. Any word from our allies? Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. The few species that supported us in the council are staying quiet. They can't afford to cross the Veltharians openly. But I get the feeling some of them are watching to see what happens next. On the view screen, a new ship emerged from the orbital shipyards. It was sleek and fast-looking, built entirely from human designs and human materials. The hull gleamed with a silver coating that would deflect energy weapons. The engine section pulsed with blue light from the experimental quantum drives. The first of the new fleet, Collins observed. What should we call her? Jake thought for a moment. How about the Independence? Seems appropriate. The ship moved gracefully away from the construction platform, its engines leaving a trail of blue fire. It was smaller than most council vessels, but it looked dangerous and determined, like humanity itself. Across the galaxy, alien worlds were already beginning to feel the effects of Earth's withdrawal. Mining operations failed without human-designed equipment. Agricultural worlds struggled with crop yields that had been enhanced by human biotechnology. Trade routes that had depended on human navigation systems became unreliable. But on Earth, something new was beginning. Free from the restrictions and expectations of the Galaxy Council, human creativity was exploding in ways no one had expected. The same species that had once been dismissed as primitive and chaotic was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they stopped trying to fit in and started being themselves. The age of human independence had begun. 6 months had passed since Earth cut ties with the Galaxy Council, and the effects were spreading across the galaxy like cracks in breaking ice. What had started as the Council's punishment for humanity was becoming something much worse for the aliens themselves. Princess Kayla Vorthak stood in her crystal palace on Xerion Prime, staring at reports that made no sense. Her empire controlled 12 agricultural worlds that had fed billions for over 3 centuries. Now, crop yields were falling on every single planet. The bioenhancement techniques that had tripled their food production were failing, and nobody knew why. The enhancement systems are shutting down one by one, reported her chief agricultural minister. We've lost 40% of our harvest projection for this cycle. Kayla's crystalline features reflected her confusion and growing fear. The Crystal Dominion had always prided itself on feeding the galaxy. Their enhanced crops had prevented famines on dozens of worlds. Now their own people might go hungry. Contact the Galactic Research Collective, she ordered. We need the original researchers who developed these techniques. Her minister's expression grew uncomfortable. Your Highness, most of those researchers were human. They shared their knowledge freely through the collective before the severance. We have the data, but not the understanding behind it. Meanwhile, across the galaxy in the Zephyrian Federation, Trade Director Vex Kalar faced his own crisis. The insect-like alien stood in the control room of Mining Platform 7, watching as another atmospheric processor exploded in a shower of sparks and metal. That's the 5th failure this month, his chief engineer buzzed through his translator. The atmospheric processors can't handle the toxic environments on these worlds. The safety protocols keep failing. Vex's compound eyes focused on the data streaming across his screens. The Zephyrians had built their mining empire on humanity's innovations. Human engineers had designed the atmospheric processors that made Hostile world mining possible. Human safety protocols had kept Zephyrian workers alive in environments that would kill most species. Now those systems were breaking down, and the Zephyrians didn't understand them well enough to fix them. "We need to contact the original designers," Vex said. "The original designers were from Earth," his engineer replied quietly. "They're not taking our calls anymore. Back in Earth's solar system, humanity was having very different problems." Captain Danny Rodriguez guided his ship, the Explorer, through a jump portal that flickered with new kinds of energy. His team had just returned from their first mission beyond the galactic rim, and what they found had amazed everyone. "Confirmed jump successful," reported his navigator, Lieutenant Kelly Brooks. "We're definitely in uncharted space now. The star charts end about 50 light years behind us." Danny smiled as he looked at the readings from their sensors. Out here, beyond the reach of the Galaxy Council, they had discovered something incredible. Worlds rich in resources that the Council had never bothered to explore. Intelligent species that had been isolated for millions of years, developing their own unique technologies and cultures. 3 inhabited systems in this sector alone, reported Dr. Sophie Bennett from her science station, all showing signs of advanced civilization. "And Danny, they're excited to meet us. No Galaxy Council restrictions, no political complications, just honest first contact." The Explorer moved toward the nearest world, where signals from the planet showed a species eager to establish trade and communication. Unlike the Council's rigid hierarchy, these rim civilizations seemed genuinely interested in sharing knowledge and resources as equals. Back on Earth, Engineer Ryan Murphy stood in his laboratory, holding a device that shouldn't have been possible. The shield generator was no bigger than his fist, but the energy readings were off the charts. Without alien restrictions on human research, his team had pushed shield technology far beyond anything the Council had ever developed. "The field strength is incredible," he explained to Admiral Peter Collins. "We're not just deflecting energy weapons anymore. This system can actually absorb the energy and redirect it back at attackers." Collins examined the device with wonder. "How is this possible? The Council's best shields are massive installations." "That's because they've been using the same basic designs for thousands of years," Ryan replied. "They got comfortable. We got creative." Dr. Amy Foster was experiencing similar breakthroughs in her propulsion laboratory. The quantum jump drives that humans had developed were not only working, they were working better than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships could now travel farther and faster than Council vessels, and they used half the energy to do it. But the real shock was coming from beyond human space. On Nexus Prime, Chairman Thylos Vel sat in his council chambers, reading reports that grew more disturbing every day. The Andromedan Syndicate's space elevators were starting to fail. The maintenance protocols that kept them stable had been developed by human engineers 50 years ago, shared freely with the galaxy as part of Earth's contribution to galactic civilization. Now those elevators were beginning to sway and buckle. Without constant maintenance using human-designed procedures, the massive structures would eventually collapse, cutting off entire worlds from space-based trade. "How many installations are affected?" Vel asked his aide. 17 space elevators showing stress fractures. 43 orbital platforms reporting system failures. The Hegemony's faster-than-light communication network has experienced its first major breakdown in 3 centuries. Vel's blue skin darkened with anger. "This is impossible. These systems have worked perfectly for decades." "Yes, sir. But they all incorporated human innovations. Small improvements and safety measures that were added over time. Without ongoing human input, the systems are beginning to revert to their original, less stable configurations." The truth was becoming clear across the galaxy. For 60 years, humans had been quietly improving everything they touched. They had shared their innovations freely, never asking for credit or control. They had made galactic civilization work better, safer, and more efficiently. Now that they were gone, the galaxy was discovering just how much it had depended on human creativity and problem-solving. On Earth, President Linda Carter addressed the planet from her office in Geneva. "My fellow humans," she began. 6 months ago, The Galaxy Council told us we were too dangerous and unpredictable to remain free. Today, we're proving them right. We're dangerous to their old ways of thinking. We're unpredictable because we refuse to accept limitations. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Civilizations that have existed for thousands of years are discovering that they can't function without human innovation. But we're not gloating. We're too busy building something better. Behind her, through the office windows, the lights of orbital construction platforms twinkled like stars. New ships were being born every day, carrying human explorers to parts of the galaxy that had never been touched by Council influence. Captain Ben Parker's voice came through the communication system from the Rim territories. We've established contact with the Outer Spiral Confederation, 16 species that have been completely isolated from galactic politics. They're interested in forming what they're calling a Free Worlds Alliance. No hierarchies, no overlords, just voluntary cooperation between equals. Linda smiled. Approved. Begin negotiations. As Earth's first year of independence approached, the galaxy was beginning to understand what they had lost. It wasn't just human technology or human innovation. It was the human approach to problems. Creative, collaborative, and utterly unwilling to accept that anything was impossible. The Council had expected Earth to come crawling back. Instead, they were watching the foundation of their own civilization begin to crumble, while humanity blazed new trails among the stars. 1 year after Earth's isolation began, the galaxy erupted into its first major war in over 1,000 years. The Outer Rim Confederation had watched the Galaxy Council's growing weakness and decided to act. Their fleets struck without warning, at 3 core worlds, catching the Council's military completely off guard. Admiral Kate Stevens stood on the bridge of the human ship Liberty, watching the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. The Council's response to the attacks had been clumsy and slow. Their battle formations were outdated, their equipment was failing, and their tactical doctrine had grown soft from centuries of peace maintained through political control rather than military strength. The Council fleet is falling back from the Altair system, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Tom Anderson. Their ships are taking heavy damage. It looks like their shield generators are overloading. Kate nodded. The Council had relied on human innovations to upgrade their military technology for decades. Without those upgrades, their weapons and defenses were showing their age. But more importantly, they had forgotten how to think like warriors. Human military advisors had quietly influenced Council strategy for 60 years, teaching them flexibility and adaptation. Now they were fighting like the rigid hierarchical organization they had always been. Any word from our Rim allies? Kate asked. Captain Ben Parker reports successful contact with the Keth Unity and the Spiral Commonwealth. Both species are formally requesting membership in the Free Worlds Alliance. That brings our total to 23 member civilizations. Kate smiled. While the Council fought a losing war against the Outer Rim rebels, humanity was building something entirely different beyond the galactic edge. The Free Worlds Alliance operated on principles the Council would never understand: voluntary cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect between equals. The communication system crackled to life. Admiral Stevens, this is Captain Danny Rodriguez reporting from the Andromeda sector. We've made contact with an isolated human colony. Kate's eyebrows rose. Human colony? How is that possible? Long story. Apparently, a human exploration ship got lost about 40 years ago and ended up here. They've been building their own civilization without any contact with Earth or the Council. Admiral, you need to see what they've accomplished. The data stream that followed left Kate speechless. The lost colony had developed technologies that made even Earth's recent innovations look primitive. Without any outside influence, they had pushed human engineering to incredible limits. Their ships could travel between galaxies. Their manufacturing systems could build entire cities in weeks. Meanwhile, on the industrial front, Production Chief Carlos Mendez was overseeing the completion of Earth's new automated factories. The massive complexes stretched for kilometers, underground, protected by the same shield technology that defended Earth's ships. Using artificial intelligence systems that had been developed without any alien interference, The factories could produce anything from starships to medical supplies faster than any galactic civilization had thought possible. Output is exceeding all projections, Carlos reported to Admiral Collins. We're not just building ships anymore. We're building entire industrial complexes for our rim allies. The Free Worlds Alliance is becoming economically independent from the galactic core. But the most disturbing news was coming from deep space. Dr. Hannah Wright's archaeological team had been studying the ancient precursor artifacts that powered much of galactic civilization. The massive structures, space stations, power generators, terraforming systems, had been gifts from a vanished race that had disappeared millions of years ago. Now those artifacts were shutting down. The pattern is consistent across all 17 sites we've studied, Hannah reported from her laboratory on Earth. The precursor artifacts are entering dormancy cycles. The maintenance codes that kept them active are no longer working. Admiral Collins studied the data with growing alarm. What changed? These systems have been stable for millions of years. That's just it, Hannah replied. They were never meant to be permanent. The precursors designed them as temporary measures meant to help younger civilizations until they developed their own advanced technologies. The artifacts have been waiting for someone to reach technological independence. The implications were staggering. For millions of years, galactic civilizations had become dependent on precursor technology. They had stopped innovating, stopped pushing boundaries, content to use the gifts left by their ancient benefactors. Only humanity had continued to develop and improve, unconsciously working toward the goal the precursors had set. The artifacts are recognizing human technological achievement, Hannah continued. They're shutting down because they believe their job is done. The galaxy finally has a species capable of moving forward independently. On Nexus Prime, the Council was facing complete chaos. Chairman Thylos Vel sat in his crystal chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the collapse of galactic civilization. The war with the Outer Rim was going badly. Core worlds were experiencing infrastructure failures as precursor artifacts went dark. Trade routes were breaking down as alien ships struggled with navigation systems that had been enhanced by human innovations. We need to contact Earth, advised his chief minister. We need to negotiate. Vel's blue skin flushed with anger. Never. Humans are primitive creatures. We will not beg for their help. But even as he spoke, reports continued streaming in. The proud Veltharian Empire was watching its capital city's life support systems fail one by one. The insect-like Zephyrians had lost half their mining operations. The Crystal Dominion faced starvation as their agricultural enhancement systems continued to break down. In the Rim territories, humanity was thriving. Governor Paul Davis stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching as ships from dozens of species docked at the massive facility. The Free Worlds Alliance had become a beacon of prosperity and cooperation in a galaxy falling apart. Trade volume is up 300% this quarter, reported Commander Rachel Torres. Our Rim allies are sharing technologies and resources freely. We're seeing innovations that surpass anything the core worlds ever developed. The humans had learned something the Council never understood. True strength came from cooperation, not control. Instead of demanding submission from their allies, they offered partnership. Instead of hoarding knowledge, they shared it freely. The result was an explosion of creativity and innovation that was transforming everything it touched. Dr. Alex Chen's research team had just achieved a breakthrough that would change everything. Working with scientists from 12 different Alliance species, they had developed a faster-than-light communication system that didn't rely on precursor technology. The new network could connect the entire galaxy instantaneously, sharing information and coordinating activities on a scale never before possible. We're not just replacing the old communication network, Alex explained to President Carter. We're building something better. Real-time translation between any two species, universal data standards, complete information sharing for any civilization that wants to participate. Commander Steve Johnson's military engineers had made similar breakthroughs in defensive technology. The new planetary shield systems could protect entire star systems from attack. creating safe zones where civilizations could develop without fear of conquest or interference. As Earth's second year of independence began, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely shifted. The Council controlled perhaps 100 core worlds, struggling to maintain order as their technology failed and their authority crumbled. The Free Worlds Alliance controlled 300 worlds across, two spiral arms growing stronger every day. The war between the Council and the Outer Rim continued, but it had become irrelevant. Both sides were fighting over the scraps of a dying civilization, while humanity and its allies built something entirely new among the stars. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the Deep Space Exploration Fleet, received a message that would change everything. A desperate transmission from the Veltharian Empire requesting a secret meeting. Princess Elena Vel, daughter of Emperor Thyman, was asking for help. The Council had cut off Earth expecting humanity to collapse. Instead, Earth had shown the galaxy what it looked like when a species refused to accept limitations. The Age of Empires was ending. The Age of Cooperation had begun. 18 months after the severance, the Galaxy Council was dying. Emperor Thyman Vel stood in the ruins of what had once been the most beautiful city in the galaxy. Veltharian Prime's crystal spires, which had gleamed for 10,000 years, now flickered with dying light as their power systems failed one by one. The life support systems that had maintained perfect atmospheric conditions were shutting down. The gravity generators that had allowed beings from dozens of worlds to walk comfortably on Veltharian soil were becoming unstable. Even the water purification systems, which had turned the planet's toxic oceans into crystal-clear lakes, were beginning to fail. "Father, we cannot continue like this," Princess Elena Vel said, her crystalline features reflecting the emergency lighting that now provided the only illumination in the Imperial Palace. "Our people are dying. The other Council worlds are in even worse condition." Emperor Thyman's blue skin had faded to pale gray with exhaustion and stress. "The humans did this to us. They knew what would happen when they left." "No, Father," Elena replied gently. "We did this to ourselves. We became so dependent on their innovations that we forgot how to innovate ourselves. And now they're building something beautiful while we cling to the ruins of empire." Elena had been studying reports from beyond the Galactic Rim, where the Free Worlds Alliance was flourishing. 27 species working together as equals, sharing knowledge and resources, solving problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. It was everything the Council claimed to be but had never actually become. "I have to go to them," Elena announced. "I have to ask for help." Thyman's eyes widened in shock. "A Veltharian princess begging help from humans? It's unthinkable." "Then, think differently," Elena said firmly. "Or watch our civilization die." 3 days later, Captain Tony Mitchell intercepted an unidentified ship at the edge of human space. The vessel was clearly Veltharian, its crystal hull reflecting the light of Earth's sun, but it was flying alone and broadcasting human diplomatic codes. "This is Princess Elena Vel of the Veltharian Empire," came the transmission. "I request an audience with Earth's leadership. I come in peace with vital intelligence about Council military capabilities." Tony studied the readings from his sensors. The Veltharian ship was small, built for speed rather than combat. Only a handful of life signs aboard. Either this was genuine, or it was the most sophisticated trap the Council had ever attempted. "Princess, this is Captain Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force. You'll understand if we're a bit cautious about accepting Veltharian visitors." "I understand completely, Captain. I'm prepared to transfer my ship's complete database as a sign of good faith. You'll find intelligence about Council fleet movements, defensive capabilities, and internal political situations." The data that followed was incredible. Princess Elena had brought complete tactical assessments of every Council military installation, detailed reports on infrastructure failures across core worlds, and most importantly, intelligence about a growing faction within the Council military that was planning something desperate. "General Corvex Thane is gathering support for a military strike against Earth," Elena explained during her meeting with President Linda Carter in Geneva. He believes that forcing humanity back into the galactic community is the only way to save the Council from complete collapse. Linda studied the young Veltharian princess across the conference table. Elena's crystalline features showed genuine distress, and her offer of intelligence had been completely genuine. More importantly, she had come alone, trusting her life to human mercy. "What do you want in return for this information?" Linda asked. "Humanitarian aid," Elena replied simply. "Food shipments for our agricultural worlds, medical supplies for our hospitals, technical assistance to prevent complete infrastructure collapse. I'm not asking you to save the Council. I'm asking you to save innocent people who had nothing to do with the decision to exile humanity." Linda was quiet for a long moment. Around the table, her advisors waited for her decision. Outside the conference room windows, the lights of Earth's orbital facilities twinkled like stars. Humanity had every reason to let the Council suffer for their arrogance and cruelty. "Approved," Linda said finally. "We'll begin humanitarian shipments immediately. No political conditions, no demands for submission. Help for anyone who needs it." Elena's relief was visible. "Thank you, but there's something else you need to know. General Thane isn't just planning a military strike, he's planning to use weapons that have been banned for over 1,000 years, planet killers from the old Empire Wars." The room fell silent. Planet-killing weapons were the ultimate taboo in galactic civilization. The last time they had been used, entire star systems had been sterilized, leaving nothing but radioactive debris floating in space. "How long do we have?" asked Admiral Collins. "Weeks, maybe less. The General is desperate, and desperation makes people do terrible things." Meanwhile, beyond the galactic rim, humanity's colonies were thriving under leaders like Governor Paul Davis and Commander Rachel Torres. New Geneva Station had become the heart of the Free Worlds Alliance, processing trade and communication between dozens of species that had never imagined working together. The Keth Unity just shared their memory crystal technology, Rachel reported, during the weekly Alliance Council meeting. "Combined with our quantum processing systems, we can now store the complete knowledge base of entire civilizations in devices the size of your thumb." Governor Davis smiled as he reviewed the latest expansion reports. "The Spiral Commonwealth wants to establish joint colonies in the Magellanic Clouds. They're offering to share their bioadaptation technology in exchange for our terraforming systems." The Alliance had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization based on voluntary cooperation rather than conquest or control. Every member species contributed what they could and received what they needed. Innovation was exploding as different forms of intelligence and creativity came together to solve problems. Dr. Alex Chen's communication network was now connecting over 400 worlds in real time. Dr. Steve Johnson's defensive systems protected entire sectors from the chaos spreading through the galactic core. Human exploration ships led by captains like Oliver Stone were pushing deeper into uncharted space, discovering wonders that the Council had never imagined. But General Corvex Thane's fleet was gathering at the edge of Council space. The massive, alien warriors had convinced themselves that humanity's success was somehow stolen from the rightful galactic order. They refused to accept that humans had simply done what no other species had managed. They had kept innovating, kept growing, kept pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "The humans are a cancer in the galactic body," Thane declared to his assembled fleet commanders. "They have corrupted the natural order with their chaotic methods. We will cut out this cancer and restore proper civilization." His ships were the remnants of the Council's once mighty fleet. Many were showing signs of system failures, but they still carried enough firepower to destroy worlds. More importantly, they carried Thane's fanatical determination to restore the old order at any cost. President Carter stood in the command center beneath Geneva, watching as Earth's defensive systems came online. Admiral Julia Brooks had deployed the planetary shields that could protect entire star systems. Captain Greg Foster was coordinating humanitarian missions to Council worlds, even as their own military prepared for war. "We could have stayed isolated," Linda said to her assembled staff. "We could have built our paradise in the Rim territories and let the core worlds burn. But that's not who we are." Admiral Collins nodded. Humanity has never been good at minding our own business, especially when innocent people are suffering. The communication system crackled to life. This is Captain Danny Rodriguez reporting from deep space. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that our lost colony in the Andromeda sector is sending a fleet to help. The bad news is that General Thane's forces are moving toward Earth faster than expected. Linda looked around the room at her team. These people had guided humanity through its greatest challenge and greatest triumph. Now they would face their greatest test. Send a message to all Alliance worlds, she ordered. Tell them what's coming. Ask for volunteers, but make it clear that this is our fight. Humanity chose independence, now we'll defend it. Across the galaxy, the Age of Empires was ending in fire and chaos. But something new was being born in its ashes. A civilization based on freedom, cooperation, and the simple human belief that anything was possible if you were willing to work for it. 2 years after Earth severed ties with the Galaxy Council, General Corvex Thane's fleet emerged from jump space at the edge of the solar system. The massive alien commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue-white jewel. That was Earth, the world that had dared to defy galactic order. Begin the attack, he commanded. Show these primitives the price of challenging their betters. The Council fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons charging, their shields at maximum power. Thane had brought everything: battle cruisers that could crack moons, planet-killer devices that could sterilize worlds, the accumulated military might of dozens of species united in righteous anger. Admiral Julia Brooks watched from Earth's command center as the enemy fleet approached. The tactical displays showed impressive numbers, over 200 ships representing the surviving military power of the Galaxy Council. It should have been overwhelming. All defensive systems online, reported her tactical officer. Planetary. Shields at full power. Fleet ready for engagement. Let them come, Julia said calmly. Let's show them what human ingenuity looks like when it's properly motivated. The battle began when Thane's ships opened fire at maximum range. Brilliant beams of energy lashed out across space, the kind of weapons that had conquered empires and terrorized worlds for millennia. They struck Earth's defensive shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by energy fields that converted their power into harmless light. Impossible, Thane muttered, staring at his tactical displays. No shield technology can absorb that much energy. His weapons officer, a 6-armed creature from the hegemony worlds, checked his instruments frantically. General, their defensive systems are using our own energy against us. The more we fire, the stronger their shields become. Ryan Murphy's breakthrough in shield technology was working exactly as designed. The human defensive systems didn't just deflect energy weapons. They absorbed the power and redirected it to strengthen Earth's defenses. The Council fleet was actually making Earth stronger with every shot. Then Earth's fleet engaged, and the real shock began. Human ships emerged from behind asteroids and planetary shadows, moving faster than anything the Council had ever seen. Their quantum jump drives allowed them to appear anywhere on the battlefield instantly, striking at the Council fleet's weakest points before vanishing again. Captain Jake Morrison led the assault from the bridge of his flagship, now called the Defiant. Target their command ships first. Let's cut off the head of this snake. The human weapons were unlike anything in the galaxy. Instead of brute force energy beams, they used precision particle streams that could slice through hull armor like paper. Instead of massive explosive missiles, they deployed smart projectiles that could think and adapt, finding weak points in enemy defenses automatically. Within an hour, half of Thane's fleet was disabled or destroyed. The proud Council ships, built for intimidation and overwhelming force, were no match for human vessels designed for speed, intelligence, and flexibility. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, reported Thane's communication officer. President. Linda Carter's face appeared on the main screen, her expression calm and determined. General Thane, this is President Carter of Earth. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and we'll treat your survivors with the dignity you denied us. Thane's reptilian features twisted with rage. Never. I would rather die than submit to human authority. That's your choice, Linda replied. But understand this. We're not asking you to submit. We're offering you something better. A chance to be part of something that works. The battle continued for another 2 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships darted through the Council formation like sharks among whales, picking off enemy vessels with surgical precision. When Thane's flagship finally surrendered, his proud fleet had been reduced to less than 30 functioning ships. Captain Greg Foster led the humanitarian mission to rescue survivors from the disabled Council vessels. Instead of treating them as prisoners, the humans offered medical care, food, and safe passage home. It was a gesture that would be remembered across the galaxy. Why? Asked a wounded Zephyrian officer as human medics treated his injuries. Why? Help us after we tried to destroy you? Dr. Sophie Bennett, who was leading the medical team, smiled gently. Because that's what decent people do. You were following orders from leaders who made bad choices. That doesn't make you evil. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy within hours, carried by the new communication network that Dr. Alex Chen had built. But more important than the military victory was what happened next. President Carter addressed the galaxy directly. Her words transmitted to every world that could receive them. The Galaxy Council attacked Earth because they believed force could solve their problems. They were wrong. Force never solved anything permanently. But cooperation can solve everything. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Earth offers a simple proposition to every world in the galaxy. We will share our technologies with anyone who needs them. We will provide humanitarian aid to any civilization that requests it. We will defend any world that chooses freedom over tyranny. But we will never again submit to the authority of the Galaxy Council or any similar organization. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, dozens of species formally withdrew from the Council and requested admission to the Free Worlds Alliance, the Keth Unity, the Spiral Commonwealth, even several core worlds that had grown tired of Council corruption and stagnation. The Veltharian Empire was among the first to make the transition. Princess Elena, now elected as the first president of the Veltharian Republic, signed a mutual defense treaty with Earth in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. Today marks the end of the Age of Empires, Elena announced. No more hierarchies based on fear. No more civilizations that exist to serve the powerful. From this day forward, we are equals working together toward a common future. Captain Oliver Stone's exploration fleets pushed deeper into uncharted space, making contact with isolated civilizations that had never heard of the Galaxy Council. Each new species that joined the Alliance brought fresh perspectives and innovations that benefited everyone. Governor Paul Davis oversaw the establishment of new colonies in 3 different galaxies. The lost human colony from Andromeda had shared their intergalactic travel technology, opening up infinite possibilities for expansion and exploration. Commander Rachel Torres coordinated trade between over 400 worlds, managing an economy based on voluntary exchange rather than tribute and taxation. Prosperity was spreading to regions of space that had been ignored or exploited by the Council for millennia. Dr. Hannah Wright's archaeological teams made another breakthrough when they discovered that the precursor artifacts weren't just shutting down, they were transforming. The ancient machines were reconfiguring themselves to serve as teachers and guides for younger civilizations, sharing the accumulated wisdom of millions of years. 3 years after the severance, the galaxy was completely transformed. The Free Worlds Alliance encompassed over 600 species across multiple spiral arms. The old Galaxy Council still existed, controlling perhaps a dozen core worlds, but their influence had become negligible. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Endeavor, as they prepared for humanity's greatest expedition yet. The ship was larger than anything ever built, incorporating technologies from dozens of Alliance species. Its destination was the Magellanic Clouds, where early surveys had detected signs of ancient civilizations that might hold keys to mysteries older than the galaxy itself. All systems ready for intergalactic jump, reported his navigator, Lieutenant Kelly Brooks. Around them, the bridge crew represented 6 different species working together as naturally as if they had been born on the same world. "Take us out," Jake ordered. The Endeavor disappeared in a flash of blue light, carrying human explorers and their alien partners toward adventures that would have been impossible under the old galactic order. Behind them, Earth continued to coordinate the alliance, solving problems and settling disputes through cooperation rather than force. The universe that had once tried to contain humanity now watched in wonder, as humans led the charge toward an unlimited future among the stars. The Council had expected Earth to come crawling back, begging for readmission to galactic civilization. Instead, Earth had shown the galaxy what real civilization looked like. On worlds across the galaxy, children of dozens of species learned about the day humanity chose freedom over safety, independence over comfort, and cooperation over control. They learned about the species that had refused to accept limitations and had shown everyone else that anything was possible if you were willing to work for it. The age of empires was over. The age of exploration had begun. And at the heart of it all was a small blue world that had dared to say no to the powers that claimed to rule the galaxy, and had built something infinitely better in its place.